the Platonic solids. And these figures are named after Plato, obviously, but they predate Plato. I think Plato was around 400 BC, but these go back to ancient Babylonia. These Platonic solids are the basic building blocks of nature. They're the shapes that we find all throughout nature and in the periodic table of elements as well. The main significance of the Platonic solids is that they're the only shapes in existence that have faces that are all the same size, edges that are all the same length, and angles that are all the same degree. If you put it inside of a sphere, like we were talking about, the perfect shape of unity, that sphere, if you put this shape inside of a sphere, all of the points will touch the edge of the sphere. These are the only 5 shapes that meet that. And then extensions of these shapes come in the form of the star tetrahedron and Metatron's cube, which we will get into. So the first Platonic solid is called the hexahedron, and it's called a hexahedron because it has 6 square faces, but it's basically just a cube. All of these correspond with different chakras, and they all correspond with different elements of nature. So the cube in sacred geometry represents the earth, or the root chakra, so being grounded. You know, it's one of the most basic shapes here. So the next shape is the icosahedron. That is a figure with 20 triangular faces. That corresponds with the sacral chakra and with the water element. And it represents intuition and adaptation. The next shape is the octahedron, and that is 8 triangular faces. That corresponds with air and freedom and communication. And then we have the dodecahedron, also known as the pentagonal dodecahedron. That corresponds with ether or prana, and that has 12 pentagonal faces. The tetrahedron is a pyramid. So just to run through again real quick. There's the hexahedron, which is a cube. There's the icosahedron, which is 20 triangular faces. The tetrahedron, which is a pyramid. There's the octahedron, which is 8 triangular faces. And there's the dodecahedron, 12 pentagonal faces. Professor Robert Moon from the University of Chicago actually showed how every element on the periodic table of elements, every one of their properties can correspond to one of these Platonic solids. To go back to the tetrahedron, which is the pyramid, if you take that pyramid, add another one and invert it, you get the Merkaba, or the Star of David, it looks like. You know, and it's a very prominent symbol in Jewish mysticism. The word Merkaba translates to chariot, so I thought that was interesting, almost for travel. And in sacred geometry, the Merkaba is understood as the 3-dimensional version of that star tetrahedron, that Star of David shape. And they believe that it surrounds the body, and it is the male interpretation of the aura. They believe that the shape of the energy that surrounds the body takes this shape. It depends on how you look at it. You know, there can be the sphere of energy around us, and then within that sphere is the Merkaba. So you find these straight lines and these circles. Once you add those circles onto the flower of life, and you start to connect those dots, you can make Metatron's cube. And we've talked about this a lot in the past because this is the one that interests me the most. It is more complex than all of the Platonic solids. And understand that Metatron's cube is not one of the Platonic solids. The point of the Platonic solids is that they're the building blocks. They're the most basic, down to the core shapes that you can come up with. You know, if you have 2 points, you only have a line. You know, you can't get a conceptual shape from that. So, you know, in order for existence to keep reaching out and to keep expanding and experiencing itself in different ways, you have to keep adding points. So the first most basic point you get is that triangle, and then the next most basic point you get is the square, and then you keep going up and till you get shapes that don't mirror each other's properties. Advancing on the Platonic solids, you get Metatrons cube. It's also found in the flower of life by connecting the dots. And if you take this into a 3D form and show it depicted as a 3D form, it's really interesting. This because Metatron's cube is really where the feminine meets the masculine. It's like the unity of duality, kind of. So it's the 13 circles in the flower of life connected with straight lines, and Metatron's cube contains all of the Platonic solids. It could represent that next dimension, the dimension beyond what's physically observable for us. You get all Platonic solids from Metatron's cube. It's known in sacred geometry as the blueprint of creation. The images of Metatron's cube and the depictions of Metatron go all the way back to ancient Judaism, but they can also be found in not only Orthodox Judaism, but in heretical Judaism, so they have disagreements there. It's also found in Christianity and Islamic traditions, but one of the earliest mentions of it is in the Jewish mystical tradition of the Kabbalah. It's also been mentioned in the Babylonian Talmud, which is a collection of texts from Judaism. It emphasizes divine dualism, and the King James Bible kind of wanted to focus on one single unified creator deity, when Metatron's cube, the symbol of it, kind of really represents that unity coming through duality. To check out the full video, you can search D.K Dreamkeeper on any platform, and you can also find other similar videos related to spirituality and science and dreams and psychology.